Hello, my name is Silvina Skverer, and I am thrilled to participate in this video as part of CSR Talent Group Experts in Actions and share practical tips on how to improve your EcoVadis score. I am a sustainability consultant focused on helping small and medium-sized enterprises on their sustainability journey. And one of the areas of expertise is to help these companies navigate the EcoVadis assessment. So I've seen firsthand the challenges and opportunities it presents. So in this video, we're going to talk about what EcoVadis is and what it isn't, the principles and areas of the assessment, some tips on first-time assessments, and also some common mistakes that we see when companies navigate this assessment. So let's dive in. First, we'll start with EcoVadis, right? When we think of EcoVadis, we need to be clear on what it is and what it isn't. So EcoVadis is not a certification nor an endorsement. EcoVadis is a private company that has been around for many years, over 15 years, and they offer a variety of solutions to help companies address sustainability. And they are globally recognized for their assessment platform to rate businesses' sustainability. And that is what we're going to be talking in this video. So before going into a little bit of detail of EcoVadis, I'm going to tell you what is the process of EcoVadis. It's very simple. It's 4 steps. First, you register your company, either because you enter into the rating assessment on a voluntary basis or because a stakeholder asks you for it. The second step is to receive a customized questionnaire and to upload the documentation and answer that questionnaire. Then an EcoVadis analyst will review your submission, and finally, they will issue a scorecard with the areas, detailing your areas of strength and what are the areas that they consider that you should work on. So it is important, before moving into tip parts, to understand what is their rating methodology, right? So to be able to improve your score, you need to understand how they rate you. So EcoVadis methodology is based on 4 principles. One is that they are evidence-based. What we mean by evidence-based is that every question that you will answer from their assessment, from their questionnaire, will have to be supported by supported documentation. So every answer will have to be tied to a specific document or part or section within a document. 2 is that the questionnaires are tailored by industry, size, and location. So it's very important, and we're going to talk about this on the tips, that your company is placed within the right industry, because questionnaires are tailored. A service company is not going to receive the same questionnaire as a manufacturing company. The same that if you're an extra small company, less than 25 employees, the level of rigor of the questions and some things that you can get away with are more simple than companies that are not considered extra small. The third principle is transparency and traceability. The traceability component is very important because EcoVadis has powerful AIs to trace the origins of the document. So if you create a document for the sole purpose of this assessment, then that document will be turned invalid. And the fourth principle, and very important one, is that EcoVadis is focused on continuous improvement. So their goal, their aspirations is not that your company rate just once, but that over time continues evolving, improving your own sustainability management system, and eventually rate the company on higher percentiles. Now, what are the areas, they call it the pillars? What are the areas, the categories that they will be assessing your company? Those are 4. The environment, and you are going, depending on the industry, of course, there are going to be different areas of focus, but most of the times They'll be asking you about energy consumption, your transition to renewable, if you're starting with measuring your carbon emissions, how do you track your waste, and pollution and water, that, etc. It will depend, again, with your industry. The second pillar is labor and human rights. Here they're going to ask you about working conditions, child labor, social dialogue, trainings, diversity and inclusion, etc. The third pillar is ethics, and on ethics, you are going to be asked about anti-corruption, your anti-corruption policies and actions, and also responsible information management. And finally, sustainable procurement, which is how do you assess, how do you monitor the environmental and social practices of your suppliers, of your supply chain. Then there's a fifth component, which is not a pillar, but it's a component that can affect your score, that is called the 360 watch finding. Here, EcoVadis have powerful tools where they will gather public information such as certifications, social media comments, blogs, reports, litigations, anything that is public and has to do with your company that can affect your performance, your sustainability performance, and that will be considered within your score. Finally, what are the categories that these principles will be based and that these pillars will be analyzed? There are three categories, which are policies, actions, and results. So all your policies, your documents, your commitments that you have in place regarding all these pillars. And if you have endorsements as well, your actions, how do you implement those policies? And if you have any certification. And finally, results. And results, basically what they are asking for is those measures, those KPIs that you have in place to measure, track, and check how are you progressing with your sustainability management system. So what are the rating methodology? EcoVadis issues medals and badges for those companies that assess on their high percentiles. So for those companies that assess on the top 35 percentile, they issue 4 types of medals. Platinum for the ones that rate on the first 1%, gold for those that rate on the top 5%, silver for those that rate on the top 15%, and bronze for the ones that rate on the 35 percentile. In 2024, they introduced 2 other ways of recognize your efforts. There are 2 badges. One is committed for those companies that receive a score between above 45 points, sorry. Committed is about 45 points. And then the fast mover, which is for companies that have a score between 34 and 44, and that they improve at least 6 points from the last assessment. Now, one thing that is important to mention is that in order for you to receive a medal, you need to have at least 30 points on each of the 4 pillars that I mentioned before. So even if you rate very high on 1, 2, or 3 pillars, if you don't have a minimum of 30 on each of the pillars, then you won't be awarded a medal. So how can you maximize your score, your EcoVadis score? And this is mainly for first-time assessor. The first thing, and as I said before, is when you go through the registration to get your industry right. Why is this very important? Because if you are assigned an industry that is not yours, then you will be asked questions that are going to be deemed irrelevant for you. You're not going to have the supporting documentation, and you're going to lose the points. So make sure that you have your industry assignment right. And another thing that I suggest is go and download the industry risk profile. So you will see, according to their methodology and their standards, what they consider of high priority, medium priority, and low priority. Of course, they're going to give you more points if you have more advanced, more progress in the high and medium things that are prioritized. But if there are certain things that are low and you can cover them without spending a lot of time, that will give you additional points. EcoVadis is a very thorough assessment. You will be asked a lot of questions that you will have to trace people from different sectors. So we highly recommend to assemble a cross-functional team from different departments, HR, finance, operations, procurement, and any area within the company that is relevant to the business. And of course, we highly recommend to have one project manager, someone that leads the project, that tracks progress, that makes sure that everyone is on track, and that before hitting that submit button is going to check that everything is done according to the standards. Another thing that I do with my clients is that I create a document index. As I said before, the EcoVadis assessment is evidence-based. So you're gonna have to upload documents, and every answer that you submit, you are gonna have to link it to a certain document. Now you can only upload 55 documents, so it's very important that the documents that you upload can help you answer and back more than one question. So what we do is prepare an index with the document that we are going to be uploading, what are the sections that we're going to be using, and on the page numbers that we're going to be using for each of the different sections and questions. Prepare the documents in advance. If you know that an investor or a client, or that you're gonna want to go eventually into this assessment, please prepare your documents in advance. Because if you start putting them together, once you hit that registration, then those documents are gonna be invalid. Have complete and thorough documentation. Go into EcoVadis document guidelines, and it will tell you all the standards and quality that they expect from their documents. The most basic ones is that they want those documents to be complete with logo of the company, documentation and information of the company, endorsed by senior management, being done according to following standards. And of course, that those documents have been and policies have been properly communicated to stakeholders, mainly employees and suppliers. Focus on high relevant areas. As I said before, try to focus on the things that are considered of high or medium priority. And the last two tips that I'm giving here, this one is extremely important. Be generous with the comment section. So for each answer that you will provide EcoVadis, try to make it as easy as possible to EcoVadis analysts to understand your question and to look for the supporting documentation. So on each question, we provide, when I work with my clients, I provide a very clear explanation and answer of what they're asking for. And I tied exactly the number page and the section that they should be looking. So for example, when they are asked for something that is related to diversity and inclusion, I said, explain the policy of my client, and then I say, look for employee engagement, page 24, section diversity and inclusion. That way, you're helping EcoVadis analysts to find your answer. Finally, have that leader, that project manager, check your submission before hitting that send button. Now, what are common mistakes that we usually see? One is submitting irrelevant or insufficient documentation. Again, evidence-based documentation that is relevant, nothing that is old. EcoVadis doesn't accept policies that are older than 8 years old or KPIs that are older than 2 years old. So if that's the case, your questions are going to be deemed invalid. Not providing evidence of successful implementations. Those actions are very hard to support, right? So when you have trainings, when you have communication, please try to have a report or something that quantifies those actions that you have implemented. Procrastination, don't leave everything to do for the last minute. EcoVadis takes time. It's going to take you a couple of weeks, if not months, to get all the information together. This is related to what I said before about incomplete or vague answers. Please help EcoVadis analysts understand your answers and know where to look for. And finally, for those companies going for a reassessment, I would say, yes, focus on the areas of strength. Don't overlook, don't think that because on the last assessment you have a very high score, they're not going to go into demand more, because they will. And also focus on those areas of low impact that are easy to comply with, that doesn't take a lot of time or resources, because those are the low-hanging fruit. So I know I covered a lot. I hope I was able to help you. So if you have any comments or any doubts, please, you can contact me, Silvina Skverer, and contact CSR Talent Group. Thank you for watching.